Your life is an experience. You've got when you're born to when you die. During that time, that 4,000 weeks roughly that we're alive, it's made up smaller experiences. But what is an experience? An experience is the world and you meet, and that gives you an experience. We keep improving the world, but if we don't improve ourselves, every experience is going to be substandard. I was in the Fontainebleau, I'd left my credit card, so I go back the next day, and it was disgusting. And that's when I said, let me focus on my business.
For this Vauxhall project that you've done,
1 million square feet, 294 apartments, 200-bedroom hotel. It created 16,000 jobs.
That's literally changed the face of Vauxhall, right?
The time between 4 and 6 a.m, nature's waking up. I'm kind of waking up with nature. The birds are singing. It was such a beautiful time in the morning that it just trumped anything that I'd done previously. Once I'm full, then I'm going to give. Don't say, I'll be happy when I get there. I'm happy now, and I will aspire for more.
So my question to you then, how do you control your desires? Or did you want this GT3 RS?
So let me ask you a question. What's your definition of rich?
Hello and welcome to episode 22 of the GVE London Podcast. Today's episode is quite special because it will be a new feature that we do every single month where we get one of our clients to come on the show and explain how they've done so well in business and in life to afford such amazing cars. So today I have my very dear friend Kunal Tulsiani that's joining us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So Kunal recently bought a 992 GT3 RS. Awesome car. I'm sure everybody's seen it on our socials as well. What an amazing car. It came in for some PPF. And I desperately wanted to get you on because you are not your typical entrepreneur that just... I don't know what's the best way to say it. You look at business in a really structured way, but you also have a philosophy about life. And I think, if I'm not wrong, the philosophies helped you to make that business so successful as well. Yeah,
I mean, you're absolutely right. I think, first of all, thanks for the compliment about the car. I was a bit nervous about the red rims, but I think
it's good, mate.
It came out really well, so thank you.
It's good. And have you even driven it yet?
I haven't, no, not yet. Okay.
At least let me be the first passenger you take out.
Yeah, we'll have to do 1,000 miles first, below 4,000 revs, so we'll see.
I drive mainly at 2,500, so
okay,
it's fine.
You can do the first 1,000 for me then.
I accept that.
So I mean, thanks again for having me. I think it's a pleasure to be here. I've seen the podcast; it's done so well. I'm so proud of what you've accomplished here, especially with GVE here. It's great.
Thank you, bro.
And it's a great entrepreneurial story you have as well. So. You know, I like the fact, I mean, we obviously met through YPO, through the Young Presidents Organization.
And by the way, for the guests that don't know what YPO is, Young Presidents Organization, it's an American organization, right?
Yeah, it's American, but it's international, but it's founded in the US, but it's a international organization of CEOs.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting. It was sort of founded because when you're the CEO of a company, you don't really have anyone to talk to when you have a problem. You know, if you go talk to your staff, they run away. If you talk to your friends, they'll give you a tap on the back. But actually to have people who are in the same or have gone through similar situations as you have, it's a great network.
It is amazing. I go as far as probably saying the best thing I've ever joined. As far as an organization's concerned?
Well, I think definitely, I mean, the value that I've had out of it is, I mean, the value that we both shared and got out of each other just through organizations.
But we wouldn't have met.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. And how long have you been part of the YPO?
So I was actually the youngest member. I was 28 years old when I joined.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, like, again, the viewers probably wouldn't know how hard it is to join YPO, right? So, there's certain criteria that you have to surpass in order to join, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's revenue, it must be over, is it like 25 mil or something like that?
I don't know the exact criteria. I know that you have to have £2 million on your payroll, not including your salary.
Yeah.
And you have to be under the age of 45.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a couple of things which we managed to.
Well, the 45 one's funny, isn't it? Like I see a whole bunch of people that are rushing in trying to get there before they turn 45 because it's so strict. Literally a day over 45 you can't join.
That's it, you can't join. But then once you've joined, you're in forever, which is great.
Providing your company keeps on hitting those.
Yeah, I think after you've been in for 10 years, because I've sold my business now, and I'm still able to be a member because I've been a member for over 10 years.
Ah, that's awesome. Okay, cool. But no, look, we digress.
Yes.
So let's go back to the start of your story, right? You're from, where are you from in London?
So I was born actually in Wembley, moved to Mill Hill, and then to Mayfair.
Okay.
I went to boarding school. I went to Harrow.
Okay, and that, by the way, that's the same school that Winston Churchill went to, right?
It did, yeah, and Nehru as well.
Nehru as well.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Is it a good school?
It is. It's a very good school. You learn discipline. You learn respect for elders. Yeah. A few positive traits I think I got from there.
And what's it like going to boarding school?
That's a tough question. It depends. I think if you want to go, then I'm sure it's quite nice. I didn't want to go. And my parents, when I was growing up, used to tell me that if you're naughty, we're going to send you to boarding school. And then
you were really naughty.
Well, I wasn't. They just happened that space opened up, and they said
just take it.
Exactly.
All right.
So. And
then from school you went to uni, I take it?
Yeah, so I went to university. I've always been interested in business. It's been my sort of, I was working, my dad had electronics shops in Tottenham Court Road, so I'd go and work there in my summer holidays and get into sales, and so it was in my blood. Entrepreneurship has been in my blood.
Did you have a side hustle when you were a kid?
Yeah. I used to lots of side hustles actually. Well, first once I learned about eBay, I was selling things on eBay. I had to anyway to sort of make money, I guess.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
I sold bus tickets, PlayStation copied games. Yeah, and I know I probably shouldn't say that. It's okay now.
Well, I used to sell cigarettes at Harrow actually. To be honest. But I'd wait. I'd buy them and then wait till halfway through the term when everyone had run out, and then I'd sell them at a profit. So that was my.
Oh really?
But anyway, yeah. So so I went. Obviously, when I started university, I was doing a coursework on IKEA, and it was this massive issue because a lot of people were going to IKEA thinking they knew how to assemble things, and they take it home and have no idea, obviously. So the kids have no bed to sleep in by...
That sounds like me, by the way.
There we go. I'm sure everyone's been through that. So I started a company assembling IKEA furniture.
Yeah. That's a great idea, by the way, because actually it all depends on how much you value your own time, right? So I love IKEA. I think it's great. But how much money can I make in 2 hours or 3 hours? And me sitting there trying to put a bed together. Well, that's also probably not the most effective use of my time. Right?
Also, if you're capable of doing it, right? I think there's a lot. It's very complicated. A lot of people aren't used to having that cognitive ability to be able to put complex things together.
Yeah, so it's probably caused a lot of fights in many households.
Exactly. Well, when I launched, IKEA launched the same service, and they've done really, really well. It's been a massive part of IKEA's business.
Oh wow! But prior to them launching it,
so I'd launched it. I had Polish builders on mopeds, and they were going around assembling IKEA furniture, and I'd stand on the forecourt giving out leaflets, and as people were leaving, I'd give them a leaflet.
Joking?
Yeah, I'd give them
leaflets. In Wembley?
No, well, it was, exactly, the one in Wembley. But then, obviously, when they launched the service, they sort of escorted me off their forecourts. so I had these builders. I didn't know what to do with them.
Did you keep on going back, by the way?
No. I think no, I didn't. I probably should have.
Yeah, exactly. Persistence, man.
Yeah. Well, tenacity has been a massive part of my journey as well. But I think so.
But that business, so it would have been running smoothly, and then suddenly they launched their thing.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Then you're like, what do I do next?
What do you do? Exactly. So I got into property renovation, and then with property renovation for a client, I had to get an extension. So it was I did a drawing, an application, and then suddenly I was like, oh wow, like. I managed to get 300 square feet. You can sell that at £1,000 a square foot. So it's pretty much free money.
Wow.
So that's what I did. You know, and I just kept I bought a lot of metropolitan police stations, converted them. But
so these are police stations that have recently closed or something?
Yeah, they had done, yeah. So the Met had sold off a lot of police stations. So I was buying them, getting the plan, because, you know, you've got the driveway, so in the middle where they have to obviously drop the prisoners off, there has to be a closed courtyard, and they're in residential areas, so that can actually be developed out. So I got planning permission, and we unlocked over £1 billion worth of value in central London.
This is from those police stations?
No. Okay. So we did a massive 1 million square feet 2-tower scheme in Vauxhall.
Wow.
Which, I was 28. It was very difficult.
So you got planning permission?
Yeah.
For
1 million square feet.
A million square
feet.
Yeah. That is amazing.
It was great. And actually, the good thing is we were getting the planning permission, and the area was really coming up. So you had the American Embassy, and you had all of these developments all coming up from Battersea Power Station all the way up to our side.
Wow.
So the value, every time the price went up £100 a square foot, it added £10 million to our land value.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
So it'd be interesting to hear, how did you get that deal? I mean, look, a lot of the viewers that we're going to have of the podcast are aspirational. They might be young, and they might be looking at these cars thinking, I'd love to be able to afford one of these one day. And they're thinking, okay, well, property seems to be our number one profession of our customers.
Yeah.
Our top customers, they're all into property, right?
Yeah.
So now let's take it from that deal. How would one guy get to come across an opportunity like that and then see it through to completion? Because I'm guessing it wasn't smooth sailing.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely wasn't smooth sailing. And I think it's about having the right mindset. That's, for me, the most important thing. When you meet someone, it's not what can I get from you, it's what can I do for you. So when I go meet with the planning department, I'd be like, what can I do for you guys? Here's the building. What do you need? We need this, we need this. And it was a great conversation.
So I'm guessing for this Vauxhall project that you've done, how big was it?
1 million square feet.
Yeah. 1 million square feet. That's freaking huge, right? How many apartments were that?
294 apartments, so 200-bedroom hotel.
Wow. That's nuts, dude.
That's crazy.
Literally changed the face of Vauxhall, right?
And it's 16,000 jobs. It created 16,000 jobs. It will, I mean, they haven't built it yet.
Okay. But eventually it will.
Yeah, well, the guy who bought it from us got 1.6 million square feet.
Oh, wow.
So, so hopefully he'll build it soon.
That's amazing, huh?
Yeah.
So he's added another 600,000.
Yeah. Well, our towers came down to the ground. They were separate, and he's created a podium.
Oh, got it.
So he got more square footage.
Makes sense. But so I'm guessing that when you went for that project, there was shed loads of people tendering for the same.
No, it wasn't. It was actually sort of 2009, 2010 when the whole world was solving their old problems. Like I think today, a lot of people are solving their own problems. So it's created a lot of opportunities.
Okay.
But again, there it was very much, meeting the landowners. Okay, what do you guys need? Meeting the council. What do you guys need? Meeting the investors. What do you guys need? And it's constantly just giving everybody what they need.
Oh, wow.
And
almost like a mediator. You're just kind of...
You're just giving, right? It's just constantly... because when you sit there thinking, what can I do for you? There's no anxiety. There's no worry. Your mind is calm. You're objective. You're clear. You can think like you're solving your friend's problems.
Yeah.
So when you go into, and if you can just train yourself to give as much as you can, what you're doing is you're saying to yourself, I'm full, I can now give. I'm full, I can give. And your mind is calm.
So I'm guessing it was just smooth sailing. You just went and asked everybody, what can, how can I help? How can I help? And then it just went swimmingly well.
No, not at all. Yeah. That was my mindset. Everything around me was falling apart, right? We had to appeal. We had to go to appeal because the council didn't give us the planning permission.
Yeah, because that's a typical thing that I hear about, when people want to get an extension or build 5 houses on a plot of land, council says no, and then you have to go back and appeal. And
exactly.
That process isn't like a week. It's like
it's £1 million and it's another year, right?
God.
For an appeal. So...
It would cost £1 million.
It was £1 million, yeah. And then, so the investors are like, oh, Kunal, you want to take the council to court? Are you crazy? Like, as in, I was like, yeah, but we've already got a recommendation for approval. We can do this. And so a lot of things were falling apart. And that's why I said the most important thing is mindset.
So your mindset must have been relentless to have found such an amazing project at the age of 25. How the hell did you do it?
So the site was actually owned by a pension fund.
Yeah.
And pension funds aren't allowed to spend money on speculative development.
Got it.
So I basically said I'd seen the plans for the local authority. They had just come up with they wanted these towers, if you'll see, all the way from our site all the way to Battersea Power Station. And we were able to contact them, and I found an investor, and that investor basically put his name to it, and said, we'll fund the planning.
Oh, wow.
So I managed it, and we basically went through, drew up new plans. It was not easy. And then when we almost got our planning permission, the leader of the council changed.
Oh, my God.
And he was like, oh, hold on a second, stop. And we're like, well, no. So that's why we went to appeal, because we had a recommendation for approval.
Wow.
And that again,
I guess, must mean you're pretty much through the doors.
Well, the problem is that when you have an appeal, then the council, any of those people who signed off for a recommendation of approval can't now come and say it's not a good site, because they've already signed.
They've already said it, yeah.
They've already said it. So we went through that appeal process, and they had to bring external consultants in. It was like a football match, It was like a football match, and we just wiped the floor with them.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
In the courts?
It's like an appeal, like a room,
appeal
basically,
court, yeah.
where you have the Secretary of State nominate
wow.
somebody. So we went through that, and we got the planning permission through.
And I'm guessing it was a tidy sum.
Yeah. It was
Comfortable with saying?
It was a lot. It was a lot.
Okay, so north of... what's a good analogy? Like, brother, I don't want to make you uncomfortable now. So, viewers like hearing numbers.
The value increased 5x of the land over the time.
Over the time that you had it.
Yeah, it increased five times.
So that's many millions of pounds. Yeah. Our daily run-ins with many of our customers, we do notice that there's some people who have made so much money, yet they're so highly strung over the smallest things, right? They'll get upset about the smallest thing, and you're just like, 1 second, chill. It's okay. This is, it's absolutely fine. We can sort this problem out, or something like that. All still really good friends of ours, but I do wonder sometimes. I'm sure there's some people that would say, if I had that much money, I'd just be the happiest man alive. There's no need for me to get upset when I've got that much money. So what's your views on that?
Yeah, I think there's a false, very interesting, as I said, like it's a mirage, right? There's a false belief that when I get that, I'll be happy. Yeah. And that when I get that, I'll be happy never comes. So you get somewhere, and that moves, and you get somewhere, and it moves, and you get more and more frustrated because you're working, and you've sold that business, and you go into another one. And so it's just, you're constantly chasing something. You're chasing a shadow.
Okay,
right?
shadow. I've heard about a shadow.
Yeah. So how do you catch your shadow, right? You put your hand on your head. So if you're ever looking at your shadow and you put your hand on your head, you'll.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think look, just to give you a bit of context around it, so if you concentrate on what you have, right, you will develop contentment, right? The mind doesn't like to.
So this is like a person saying, well, okay, sod it, I'm not in the right financial position. I don't have the right Ferrari. I'm still driving my Corsa, and but actually, I've got an amazing wife, amazing kids. We've got a roof over our head.
I can see, and all my limbs are working, and I'm breathing, and I've got my temperatures controlled, and my blood pressure's controlled, and just sitting here today, I can think clearly. There's a lot we have, but we constantly think about what we don't have. When you concentrate on what you don't have, that feeling of lack comes in, and that feeling of desire comes in. So I want to get that.
and I won't be happy until I get that.
Exactly. So if the more content you are, as I said, you're content, and then you move forward. So I'll give you an analogy, right? So when a person wants to smoke a cigarette, right? They're like, cigarette. They go outside, they light the cigarette, and they're in bliss. Maybe it's a couple of seconds, but it's bliss, right? What's happened? So the mind has a desire, right? Which creates an agitation, and the satiation of that agitation, which is a cigarette, gives you that bliss, right? So the more desire you have, the more agitated your mind is.
Got it. Okay? Yeah, got it.
So what we want to do is we want to try and reduce our level of desire. We want to reduce our level of agitation. To that extent, the extent we can
And how does somebody reduce their level of desire?
Yeah, so the extent you can reduce your level of desire, to that extent you'll be a happier person, right?
But you can't just turn around and say, okay, I'm not going to desire any more money. I mean, I'm going to reduce my desire for money now.
And which will make you frustrated and suppressed, and that's not what we're saying.
No.
Put all of your current desires you have, everything you have, in a bucket, okay? And just focus on reducing what's in that bucket. Don't add extra things to it. Say to me, you know what, I want to have a sports car, or I want to have this, I want to have this. Okay, focus on emptying that bucket. Don't keep adding new stuff. The problem is we buy something.
We keep on adding.
All we do, we buy a house. I need furniture. Now I need a bigger house. I bought this car. Now I need a better car. You're constantly focusing on what you don't have, and that's constantly causing agitation. And you're looking at Instagram, and you're looking at all the stuff that you don't have.
I think that is you've hit the nail on the head there. With today's generation, I think the messed up thing is that kids don't feel secure in themselves, because they're looking at Insta and they're saying, well, this is the way a person, should look. This is the amount of money a person should have.
Yeah, but so you're focusing on what you don't have.
Right.
And you're creating desire. And then you get some cool, whatever it is you want to have. You buy yourself a Ferrari, F8, right? And now you want the Pista.
Right.
Or you buy yourself a Roma, and you want the F8.
Yeah.
It's a constantly, and that's why you've got a showroom full of cars, right? Because all those people if they were content with what they had, they wouldn't be selling their cars. You wouldn't. Yeah. You wouldn't, right? Yeah. So, and get the car. I'm saying get everything you want, but just don't keep adding new things to your bucket. Just focus, and that's going to help you concentrate. It's going to help you become happier. You're going to get all the things you want to achieve. And you're going to be content.
So you're saying a bucket is, where we put all our desires, right? Which is essentially the mind, I suppose, right?
No, it's about giving the mind some context to work within. It's the intellect saying to the mind, look, this is the things that you need to achieve. You don't keep adding to that. But essentially, somebody could argue, well, then where's the progress? If I'm not adding to this bucket, how then do I motivate myself to progress, right? Because essentially then he might as well just say, let's keep my company's a £10 million revenue company. There's no point in going for 20 because I don't need anything more than that, right? No, it's once I'm full, then I'm going to give.
Yeah.
Right? Once I'm full, I'm not saying don't progress and don't aspire for more. I'm saying don't say I'll be happy when I get there. I'm happy now and I will aspire for more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that for me, I think is something that it's an oxymoron, because it doesn't make sense to you today. But if you look at anybody who's achieved anything, you'll see that ultimately they just want the next thing, the desire. It's like those games where you pop something and it creates more, So it's literally just every time you get something you want more and more and more and more. And it gets to the point where the mind is so agitated, it's not happy. You're unhappy.
My question to you then, how do you control your desires, or do you? So did you want this GT3 RS?
So let me ask you a question.
Oh yeah? Okay.
Okay. What's your definition of rich? So everyone here, you're saying aspiring to be rich and make money. What's your definition of that?
That's a good question. Like in terms of figures, or in terms of just as a concept?
As a concept.
Okay. Well, mine I've had to learn over the years as well, which is that being rich and wealthy, I suppose, is having a good amount of money to be able to do what you want to do when you want to do it with the people that you want to do it with, right? And then also the fact that you've got health, you've got your family, I think. But as time's gone on, the order of importance, I think, has really shifted in my mind, which is then, actually family and health are above everything else, because ultimately the money is, is fleeting. It can be there 1 second and then it can go the next. And then actually, if you put your mind to it, you can 10x whatever you've lost or whatever, if you really do focus on it. So whereas the health and family, perhaps not, right? If you don't concentrate on it enough.
Well, I mean, everything you said makes complete sense. But the definition in my eyes is, if your desires are within your level of income, you're a rich man. If your desires are outside of your level of income, you're poor, right? So it's not about wealth management.
Actually, that's quite cool. I never thought of it like that.
It's about desire management. It's about your mind. Because you can get people who have 100 million and they're looking for 1 billion, right?
Yeah.
You get billionaires who are refinancing for the next billion, right?
Yeah.
So their desires are constantly outside of their level of income, which means that they're actually poor in their own eyes, right?
Because they need the next super yacht.
Exactly. So if you can keep your desires within your level of income, you're going to be a rich man. And I think the more you empty your bucket, right, the more you focus, let's say instead of adding all these new things, I'm focusing on my business, right, which is my core desires, which I want to achieve. My wealth is going up and my desires are reducing, which makes me richer and richer every day, right? To the point, it gets to a point where my wealth is really high and my desires are really low.
Who's a good, who's a shining example of this? Warren Buffett. That is just nuts. Yeah. He's living in the same house that he's been living at since he was, early 20s.
Exactly. I mean, they're philosophers. Him and Charlie Munger are philosophers. If you ever, everything that they talk about is the same thing.
Really?
It's the same thing. It's
apart from the fact that he eats like rubbish every single day. Have you seen that?
But that's his desires, it's okay.
That's brilliant.
That's fine.
He's still having cans of Coke.
Yeah, because he's the biggest shareholder in Coke. It's one of the biggest shareholders in Coca-Cola, isn't he? So
I got it. But no, he's the crazy example of it. When he's got all these billions and there's just no desire to buy a fancy car or to buy, the biggest house on the block.
Yeah.
He's found contentment with what he's had, and I think it. But I just wonder what drives a man like that. What drives a man like Warren Buffett, who has God knows how many billions? He's one of the richest guys in the world. Yet he's as driven as he is today as he was back then, right? So it's like, why?
I mean, I think obviously I'm sure he's must have said it many times, but if your desire is to be one of the best investors in the world, then you're just going to keep focusing on achieving that particular desire. It's not about the money. It was about, in his bucket, was becoming one of the best investors, value investors in the world, which he's become. So that's what drives him. That's what I'm saying. Money is a effect. Okay, the world is cause and effect. So you do good action, and the result is the effect. So money is the effect. If you focus on the cause, the money will take care of itself. If you're doing something, you're thinking about the money, then your cause is going to be messed up, right? So don't worry about the money. The money will look after itself. Focus on the cause.
So if you're a teacher, then focus on becoming the best teacher in the world. Or if you're an artist, focus on becoming the best artist in the world. Don't worry about the money. If
you've ever done any gardening, right? If you plant seeds and you water it and you look after it, but that will take as much time as it takes to bear fruit. So just focus on the action, and the results will take care of themselves. Don't worry about the result. Your action it's the quality of your action which is really important. Which is why I say develop your intellect, keep your mind focused on what you're actually doing, and the money will just come.
So to, the younger generation that are watching this, then how do they develop their intellect?
It's question everything, and don't take anything for granted. Question everything. Why is this? Why is that? Ask kids when they're really young. There are so many questions, and all they get is just shut up. Okay, stop asking. So ask as many questions, because that is how you develop your intellect and start to understand. Look at the mind. Look at why a diabetic, right? A diabetic, you offer him a sweet. If his intellect is strong, he'll say no. It's not good for me. If his intellect is weak, he'll take it. Same with addiction. What happens with addiction? Drugs, right? If your intellect is weak, the mind will just go and take it, because the mind wants instant pleasures, right? Where the intellect knows, like, no, this is going to screw up my day tomorrow. The intellect keeps a steady path. It's the adult. So just keep questioning things and don't take anything for granted, and that will develop your thinking capacity.
So don't take anything for granted in what sense?
Yeah. I mean, in the sense of we are taking things for granted all the time. Our health, our youth, the fact that we've got safety and security around us all the time, the fact our family's always going to be there, our friends are going to be there, relationships, we take people in our life, especially people closest to us, take them for granted. When you're first dating someone, how are you compared to after you've been with them for 3-4 years? You start taking things for granted.
Yeah, you really do. That whole question started off with me asking about the GT3 RS. How did you get that car? That is such an amazing car.
It really is, yeah. I mean, luckily, I bought cars from Porsche, quite a few cars from them, actually. And I was having a problem with one of my turbo I had.
Okay,
992 turbo cab. And they were kind enough to give me an allocation, to correct that. Which
I've heard that happening before. Sometimes it's just a olive branch. I think
they want to keep you happy. They want you to keep buying cars from them. So they want to keep you happy.
Well, 100%. I mean, look, at the end of the day, you're their perfect clientele, and you're probably the right age bracket as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you've got another car, Bentley Continental GT. What's that like?
GTC.
Yeah.
GTC. I love it. It's the only car which you can drive and be happy to just be at the speed limit.
Yeah.
You look down and you're like, oh, I'm going 30, I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
Whereas all these other cars, it's like you want to you have that.
Sometimes the mind can take over, and
That's the problem.
you put your foot down, and especially in London, where everything is 30 or 20 or 30, and then suddenly you find that you've gone that much faster, and if the police catch you, that is just you're finished. Well,
it's just your insurance obviously goes up. It's very difficult, right? After you've got points to get insurance, or it's already difficult enough to get insurance in London.
I know.
With the thefts that are happening.
It's crazy.
You want to add to it. You're losing your license or having points in your license. It just doesn't go down too well with the insurance companies.
Yeah, it is nice driving. Like London is made more for that, I'd say. The sports cars and stuff like that. Well,
we had so with Get Licensed, what we did, we set up a company called Get Driving, and we took a Lamborghini Aventador. It was owned by KSI, I think it was KSI's Lamborghini.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so this Get Licensed thing was what Yanni done. He came on to Yanni, the owner of this.
Exactly. So my business partner, Shazad, he went on to Yanni, and he basically converted it to a hire car. Okay. It was an orange.
I remember this
orange hire car, and I remember he left it with me, and I had this in my garage, and I was like, "I've got a Lamborghini. Should I drive it?"
Yeah.
But it's so embarrassing that so it was a really difficult.
Why was it embarrassing? It had the L plates.
It was a proper learner car.
So funny.
And I remember having to drop it off somewhere, and I said, "Okay, I'll drop it." And I was driving, and someone stopped me like, "Oh, do you give lessons?" And I was like, "As in supercar lessons, right? Like learn how to drive a supercar." I was like, "No."
That's brilliant. Oh man, and that business is flying, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think it was one of the best investments so far outside of real estate that I've made.
Wow.
I just think it's, I think the security business is something which it's underplayed. I think people they don't get the respect they deserve. I mean, they're really out there keeping us safe.
Yeah.
I mean, one mistake, the Manchester bombing.
Oh man!
Right, one security guard didn't check a bag.
Are you serious?
That's what
happened,
it was, right? So they didn't check the bag, and then that's what happened with the Manchester bombing. So we really underestimate the value that they provide to us as a society here.
Never thought about it like that. That's crazy.
Someone explained to me that you keep chasing after something, or you keep chasing after happiness, and it's like a mirage. So you'll say, when I get that, I'm going to be happy. And I'm sure a lot of people are in that position. When I get that Ferrari, I'm going to be really happy. Or when I get that. And actually, when you get there, it moves, right? So if you've ever seen a mirage, you can see it just as you get close enough, it moves. And that's exactly what happens. So what you're seeing and what you're aspiring towards actually keeps moving. That's why all these cars you have here, they're secondhand, right? So a lot of people bought them. Why didn't they keep them? Why are they selling them? So they must have really aspired to buy it. They really wanted it. They got it. They spec'd it. They got it. How long did they keep it for? How many miles did they do? 1,000. What's your average sort of mileage on these cars?
Well, typically somebody that would buy, let's say, for example, 488 Pista would keep it for a couple of years, or maybe a year and a half, and maybe put 3,000 to 4,000 miles on it.
Right. So I'm sure, you aspire to buy one of these cars. Why doesn't it give you happiness for life?
Yeah.
Right. Why isn't it giving you that satisfaction where you will keep that car and every day it will keep giving you the same amount of happiness?
Well, that's right. Why would one not just feel content that I've got a fast car now? I don't ever need to get another fast car again.
Exactly.
Right. I don't need the next best thing.
And it's the same with everything, right? Like it's the same with everything. It's like a smoker, right? You have a smoker. One person loves smoking. Another person hates it. And if the cigarette has happiness in it, why wouldn't it give happiness to both people? Right? Yeah. So it's not the cigarette has happiness. It's how we're relating to it. And so it's not the world that has happiness. None of these cars, they don't have happiness in them. It's how we relate to them.
Right.
So we have to understand it's about it's about understanding who you really are. Right? It's about, if you think about it like this, right? You've got, your life is an experience, right? You've got from when you're born to when you die. And during that time, that 4,000 weeks roughly that we're alive, okay?
Is that what it is, 4,000 weeks?
It's about 4,000 weeks, yeah.
Bloody hell.
You've got about 2,000 left, I think.
Bastard.
So, and that's made up of smaller experiences, right? Like really, really small experiences. So, and what is an experience? An experience is the world and you meet, and that gives you an experience, right? So we keep improving the world, but if we don't improve ourselves, every experience is going to be substandard. So actually what we can do is we can develop ourselves, and in which case every single experience we encounter is going to be that much better. So it's not about developing the world, or it's not about getting things externally. It's about developing yourself.
Yeah.
So the focus for me from when I was 21, 22 was self-development.
So you started picking up the whole self-development thing at the age of 21?
Yeah.
That's pretty young, right? So what brought that about?
Well, I just think, just like what I've explained to you, right? If someone says to me, well, look, a cigarette doesn't give happiness to two people, so it's about how you're relating to it. So now how do we relate to things? The answer. It's like when you're shaving, you cut yourself shaving, and what you're doing is you're putting plasters on the mirror to try and fix it. That doesn't work. That's why nobody who's outwardly trying to get things are becoming content. Right.
Because they're always chasing after the next fix. They reach where they wanted to get to initially, and they get there, and there's anticlimax.
It's moved. Okay. It's moved. It's
already moved to the next thing.
It's moved to the next thing. And if you think about it, it's like how desires work, how the mind works.
And so did you feel this at quite an early age? Had you had this? Because I have.
Yeah.
So I had an experience of, I wanted to get to the investment banking world. So I wanted like JP Morgan, Lehman Brothers and all this kind of stuff, right? I didn't get that straight out of university, so I decided to go to KPMG. Well, not decided, they were the only people that took me. Yeah. And so then while I'm working for them, I'm trying to study to become a chartered accountant. So then I thought, okay, well, my route into investment banking wasn't like this, so it's deviated there and I'll still come back there. I'll get my ACA qualification and then I'll go back there, right? And I get this, it was the most grueling set of exams I've ever done. It's just the worst, right? I've never been good at exams, with GCSEs and stuff. And so this was 10 times harder. And I somehow managed to pass everything. I failed one exam in the middle and then managed to get to the end, got my ACA. I remember driving back from work one day and I get the text message, right? And so I'm like, yes. And I'm like celebrating like somebody scored a goal or something like that, right? And just in the same way that when somebody scores a goal, you're really happy then, and then suddenly you come back to life, right? And it's just like, okay, what's next? So I should be really happy now. I'm really happy. I've attained it. And then it suddenly was a massive anticlimax. And then you're kind of like, what do I do next? Maybe this isn't right. I need something better. And I think that was my first experience of feeling like that. So I then also started looking at self-development around that age as well. Yeah. But what was your catalyst?
No, so I mean, I think everyone's kind of experienced it to some extent. It's a law of diminishing returns. Every time that's the problem. You get something, and then every time you contact it, the enjoyment slowly reduces to there's no more enjoyment out of it. But if I take it away from you, there's going to be a disappointment.
Oh God!
So now you have to have it.
Yeah.
It's not giving you any enjoyment.
Yeah.
But if you lose it, you're going to be unhappy.
Oh man!
Now you're stuck because you've got all of these things, and they cost you a lot of money, and you're not giving you any enjoyment. But if I take it away from you, you're not going to be happy.
Yeah.
So actually, it's a law of diminishing returns. So it's
feeling of losing something versus the feeling of winning something.
Yeah,
is so much greater. Does that make sense?
100%. That's true. I mean, losing. I think it's five times worse losing something than it is the pleasure you get from gaining it.
100%. Yeah. We're going through a scenario now upstairs where we were making a good profit on a car, and it's gone from making good profit to, oh my God, we might lose on that car now. And it's just like, God, I felt okay about the profit, but I feel so shit about the loss.
Of course, yeah. You feel, exactly. It's not as nice a feeling making profit.
Yeah,
but I think so. So there's a few things which pointed me in the direction of self-development, and I studied it. I studied it a lot. I got really into self-development and into ancient philosophy. So I'd wake up at 4:30 in the morning and I'd study ancient Indian philosophy. And 4:30
in the morning.
Yeah, it's a sattva. It's your mind is the most calm, contemplative at that time. So for me,
so would you go straight from the bar down to?
No. No, I stopped that. I realized.
Okay, before we get onto that part, tell us, because I think what I want people to hear is that you've not just been this holy guy the whole time, not even holy spirit, a spiritual guy this whole time, right? Yeah. That you've seen both sides. And 100%. So I think that is really important in your journey, especially that you got to see the other side, which then led you to this side, right?
So I came out of boarding school, 17 years old in London, and it was like a candy store. I was living in Mayfair. I was in every nightclub, every night of the week. It was a different club. It was lovely. It was great. I was having a great time. And I met some really interesting people. Obviously in central London, in the nightclub scene, you're going to meet interesting people.
What was your favorite nightclub?
I used to like Mayfair Club and Tramp.
Okay.
I used to go to Tramp a lot. Every Thursday and Saturday I'd be in Tramp. Yeah. Movida.
Oh yeah, I remember.
There was Aura. She's taking me back. But yeah, I had a great.
Sounds really expensive.
Yeah, it was. It was expensive. It was expensive. But I had a great time. And I think for me, what I realized though is you go out, you have a great time at night, but you wake up in the morning and it was like a flash in the pan. It doesn't exist anymore. Then, you know, so you've woken up, you've got a hangover, you pull this long receipt out of your pocket, you know, and you're like, what happened?
What was the point?
What was the point?
Yeah.
And then you're getting ready for the next night, but it's actually very short-lived.
It really is.
So for me, I actually realized it was New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. I was in the Fontainebleau Hotel in Miami.
Yeah.
And I went back the next day. It was a Vici, I think it was a massive night, you know, and the next day I'd left my credit card. So I go back the next day. And it was disgusting. And it smelled rotten. The room looked totally different.
Yeah.
It was horrible. And I was like, oh my God, last night, this place was amazing.
God's gift to man.
And
last
now
night.
I'm like, and I'm looking at this place and it was disgusting.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not it. You know, how long can I do this for? And so I said, let me concentrate on building my real life up. You know, so my nightlife, I'm going to have to give up on my nightlife, but I can build things which are going to be longer lasting for me.
Yeah.
And that's when I said, let me focus on my business.
Okay.
So when I started reading this philosophy, a big part of it, just to give you it's a little bit technical, but I'll just give you a little bit. But ultimately, you have your mind, right, which is the seat of your emotions, and you have your intellect, which is your decision-making power. So the mind is like the child in you, and the intellect is like the adult. You know, if you're on a motorway, right, and it's clear, and you're in a supercar, and you're at 70, and your mind is like, put your foot down, you know, and then the intellect's like, no, I've got 9 points already. I don't want to lose my license. You know, that conversation which happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes the mind wins.
Yeah.
Sometimes the intellect wins, and it's about strengthening your intellect. So through reasoning, through contemplating on higher values, you'll strengthen your intellect, and it then is able to control the mind, right? Because the mind will ask for anything. If I left a child in the house without any supervision, what happens? The place becomes a mess, right? So
the mind's more akin to a chimp, no? Surely.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you guys say child, but yeah, exactly. So it's about strengthening your intellect, and the mind likes to go into the past and the future, right? So what is concentration? Concentration is where the intellect holds the mind in the present, on a present activity. So it's about, you know, developing your intellect, developing your ability to be able to think clearly. That's a process, right? So that's why I'd say take up some higher values. You know, higher values such as, okay, why is it easier for you to solve your friends' problems than your own?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. You know, when you have a problem yourself, you can literally go down this dark hole, and you can't see the light, right?
You can't see, exactly.
And whereas if somebody else comes up to you and says, "Hey, listen, mate, I've got this problem. What do I do?" And then your mind just strategically will start thinking of different ways to get, you know, help the person
100%. So what's happened there, right? So when you think about when you're selfish and when you think about yourself, your mind is super agitated. You can't think clearly, right? You're in darkness. Whereas when you're unselfish, when you're thinking about somebody else, your mind is super clear. You're objective, as you just said. You know, you can come up with the right solution to problems. So the more unselfish you can be, the less agitated your mind is. The less agitated your mind is, the better quality your decisions are. So by being unselfish, to an extent, I'm not saying become super unselfish, that it's beyond your capacity, but within your capacity, start thinking about other people. Hold the door open for somebody, you know, let them go in traffic.
And how did being unselfish for you help you become as successful as you are today?
When I invest today in a business, so today I'm investing in impactful businesses. I invest in people who, I don't really believe in charity so much. I believe that a good business that has a positive impact is self-sustaining. So it's like evergreen. It doesn't need to go with its begging bowl asking for money from people. So I look for businesses which have a positive impact, and I invest in those businesses.
Like what? Give an example.
Like, for example, we invested in a company called Get Licensed. So Get Licensed has trained over 300,000 security guards.
Wow.
Security training. The guy...
300,000?
300,000, yeah. And now what the Guard Pass, which is the app, basically, you can go on it, you can choose a license, you do your mock exams on there, you do your test, you get your license number, and then you can find work. It's a job board. So literally, for me, that was like, okay, so I'm taking somebody who doesn't have a job, giving them a license, giving them a job, and now they're protecting society.
Wow.
Perfect. Great business.
Yeah.
So for me, but when I'm investing in businesses, I'm not looking at the company. The company's going to go all over the place. I'm looking at the person who I'm investing in. Is that person unselfish or not? Is that person going to be thinking about themselves, or are they think about other people? Because for me, during Vauxhall, we didn't get paid. 6 years, nothing came. It was literally just constantly, it was like a black hole. Draining.
And so I'm guessing there are points there where you thought this could all go to shit.
It went to shit. It all gone to shit. And again, it was like, get up in the morning. It's like, okay, what can I do? What can I do for other people? If I thought about myself, I would have stopped.
Really?
Definitely. I would have been like, no way, this is not going to work.
This isn't going to work now.
It isn't going to work.
Whereas the thing that drove you every day was, what can I do for other people?
It's just having the mindset.
And so then suddenly it was, okay, well, there's 16,000 jobs. I have to get this done because this is going to create 16,000 jobs.
It was, I'm going to create 16,000 jobs. It's going to be a landmark for the country. It's homes for people to stay in. I promised things to the investors. So it's I think for everybody, and that's what it is, it's have an ideal outside of your self-centered interest. So your business, whatever it is, whatever you're going to do, it just needs to be that little bit outside of your self-centered interest. Because if you have it outside of your self-centered interest, you can look at it the same way you're looking at helping a friend. Because you'll look at it objectively. Your mind is clear. You can think clearly. You're not having sleepless nights and worrying about what's going to happen to me and what's going to happen to my money. And it's very much, I'm doing this for someone else. So then it's easy. Life becomes super smooth because you can have a lot of money and not have any peace. And you can have a lot of peace and no money. But to have money and peace, that is a challenge. And I think if you can, the more unselfish you become, the more money your wealth grows, right? But also your desire, because exactly how I explained it.
By being unselfish, you put yourself in situations where it kind of comes back to you. Well, so whatever you're giving away almost comes back.
Yeah, like I mean, you don't do it to get something back. But if you look at negotiation, there's a law of reciprocity.
Yeah, got it.
If I give you something, you will feel obliged to give me something back. Okay, so it's a negotiating tactic. So, but the idea here is to give without expecting anything in return. I mean, for you guys, your customers, think about your customers. You could think, what about my profit I'm going to make? I'm going to sell this car, I'm going to make a profit. Or you can think, is this right for the customer? Is this what he actually needs? Is this what he wants? How can I make it better? How can I listen to my customer? That's how you're going to grow. You're not going to grow by being... If you meet selfish people, you don't see them as being very happy. If you meet businesses which are cutthroat, their reputation is not good.
We do see... I have seen many cutthroat, ruthless individuals who have become extremely successful at business.
100%, right?
Yeah. Into the hundreds of millions, if not billions.
Yeah. Are they happy?
On the face of it, potentially. But ultimately, I think there's this almost like compensating, overcompensating for the fact that they're not happy. Well, okay, I'll blow a whole load of money and that should make me happy.
The definition of success. My definition of success is being happy and having wealth. It's not just having wealth without being happy.
Right.
A lot of people say, I'm working so hard for my, what are you working so hard for my kids? Okay, but how much time are you spending with your kids, right? It's not about what you leave for your kids, it's what you leave in your kids. So those values that you leave with your kids, maybe you'll have a little less to leave them, but you're going to leave them with higher values. Yeah. So I think having a lot of money is not the answer. Having money and being peaceful that would be my definition of success. So if you can tell me who you've met who has a lot of money, who's also peaceful, then I look at that as a successful entrepreneur.
So it's so interesting that, a youngster at the age of like 24, 25 gets into an ancient philosophy of I don't know, how old is Vedanta? Like
5,000, yeah, 5,000 years old.
5,000 years old. You go from being this kid who's going to tramp every Saturday night, you know, living the life, and then waking up at 4:30 to study a spiritual text every morning, and which then subsequently changed your life and then helped you, you know, sell this amazing business. How did that come to be?
Well, it's a financial success, but also I'm pretty fulfilled generally. Yeah. You know, I think that's something that, as I said, my version of success is also fulfillment.
Yeah.
So, look, I think if you can explain something to me logically, right, then for me that makes sense. So if you explain it to me and I understand it, then for me I'll use that as my new philosophy rather than what I believed before. So the ability to unlearn and relearn is, I believe, the intellectuals of today, right? So
unlearning, yeah, that is damn right. We're molded at a very young age. You know, you go to school, you pass, you should be happy. You fail, you should be upset. You're not good enough. Da 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 da. And 100%. then that then sticks with you for the rest of your life, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think once someone explains to you and says, no, you are full, right? You're already full. You're perfect as you are. There's no getting anywhere. You just be happy now, right? To believe that is, I mean, if you think about it today, like, just be happy now with what you have. It's very difficult. It's a very difficult pill to swallow.
Yeah.
But it's the truth.
Yeah.
But the truth is difficult, right? So these are different ways and different methods of trying to slowly explain to you that you're already full. It's like you take a drop in the ocean and you're explaining to that drop, you are the ocean. You're the ocean. He's like, no, I'm the drop. It's like, no, you're the ocean. Yeah. Slowly release your sense of individuality. And as you do that, you'll become part of the totality.
Right.
And society today is very much about individual. Be more individual, and that's, you know, choose your leather and choose your stitching. It's individual. Everything is more about you as individual. And the problem is we've created more separation. And with the more separation we create, the more that's you and this is me, the less love we have. Right, and the less connection we have, and so it's about breaking down those barriers. Right, you're this religion, I'm this religion, so now we're going to fight. It's like, no, well, we're both humans. We've got more in common than we have separate. So just as we can reduce our level of separation, we'll become more in harmony with other people in the universe. So for me, when someone explained that to me, I said, well, I need to understand how I can reduce my level of separation. And this is what the philosophy, it's all it talks about, right? If you read any self-help...
So you're young, and then somebody's told you, actually, there's a way to reduce your sense of separation. And so then you join this, you fly out to India to what is it? Like an ashram?
So it's like an ashram. Basically, it's a school for philosophy. And I met the guy who wrote the books, right? I mean, he's taken this 5,000-year-old philosophy and he's translated it to English.
Okay.
And so I met him, and he has basically said to me, look, join the school, right? It's a 3-year residential course. And I was like, I can't do that because my desire for business is too much. Like, I cannot sit here and study in India for 3 years. He said, okay, just go back and study this philosophy between 4 and 6 a.m. because it's a sattvic time. It's when your mind is most contemplative, calm, serene. It's a time when you can actually really take in the philosophy, and it's all about reflection and, as I said, questioning everything. So the time between 4 and 6 a.m. is the time. That's why you'll find, you know, all the clubs close at 3. You know, it's 4 to 6 is a time when it's the best time for this spiritual study.
Where your mind absorbs it the best.
Yeah, just when you can really reflect and you don't have a lot of interruptions, right? So mental interruptions, your desires don't wake up. You know, that's, I know when, like, if I'm studying and it hits 6 o'clock, I know it's 6 o'clock because my mind is suddenly like, oh, well, you know, I have to call that person.
Right.
So I said, okay, I'll do that. But then what he's done is he's basically said, smoke, drink, do whatever you want to do, but just study between 4 and 6. So I said, okay, I got up, so tired, 5 o'clock, I'm studying. And after about a month of it, like, I'm reading this amazing philosophy, you know, the nature's waking up. I'm kind of waking up with nature. The birds are singing. It was such a beautiful time in the morning that it just trumped anything that I'd done previously. It was.
I mean, how does that compare to the satisfaction that you might have got out of going to a nice nightclub? You know, you're drinking, you're partying, you're having a whale of a time, versus now, you know, you're reading at 4 in the morning. You know, you probably initially, especially, was probably a pain in the ass trying to get out of bed.
Yeah, it was difficult. It was difficult, but it's like you read something, and you know, like being unselfish, right? You read, okay, you go from being selfish to unselfish to selfless, right? It's a process. This is karma yoga, right? It's about becoming more and more unselfish, because then your mind will become more calm. So it's you kind of read that in the morning, and then you practice it during the day. In my business, I was practicing it, meeting people, and I was practicing.
How were you practicing it?
Just being a little unselfish, just thinking, putting you first, right? Just
okay.
Can I put you first? So, and I was like, oh my God, this is like, it's amazing. Like everything is just like progressively getting better.
And why was it amazing?
Just because my mind was calm.
Okay.
You know, if you help 10 people, if you're in trouble, at least 1 or 2 of those people are going to help you. You know, so I felt like I was getting back so much. I was giving without expecting anything, but I was getting back so much. And financial success, and success in my business, success in my relationships. It was just, everything was kind of, my responsibility was increasing. So it was a great process. It was almost like a plane taking off. Whereas going out, clubbing and partying and drinking, it's a spike, and then you crash, right? So
100%.
you want to go spike and crash, or you want to take off and fly. Like, the difference is but you have to try having a disciplined routine, whatever it might be, whatever resonates with you. I mean, what I did was what I did, but whatever resonates with you, just get into a routine. Exercise, for example, get up, you know, read something which is going to be inspiring to you, whatever that might be. Any self-development things. Exercise, again, you'll feel great. So it's like, it's not cheap dopamine, you know. So you're getting and then service, right? That's just, how can I serve? How can I put my shoulder to the wheel? So yeah, that was what I would recommend, as having a routine which you can stick to. And it's consistency. Anything in this world. And if you want to be successful, you need to be consistent. So by having a routine and being disciplined, you'll be consistent, and then you'll see some pretty good results.
I think, and you know, it's a point that I'd probably be quite open with, which is that, you know, obviously when you're running a business, you have to be quite sociable. You have to go out, you have to have a few drinks, you don't have to.
Yeah.
But the common perception is that you need a couple of drinks to, you know, have your meeting with whoever you're having it with at 10 o'clock in Mayfair or whatever. And then how the hell do you go back home and still maintain that discipline of waking up at 4 if you've had a late night before?
Well, so I mean, for me, I would, you know, if I went out for dinner, I would say I was training for a marathon. Right, which means
that's brilliant,
right?
Which means you were actually not. Right?
Which I was. I mean, I was. It was a mental marathon, but not physical. but yeah, because then that way I don't have to drink, and I can leave early.
Yeah.
Because I just enjoyed what I was doing in the morning so much.
Wow.
And then the problem is, if you wake up, I'd wake up early, and then I'd have all my really important meetings first thing in the morning. Because if I'd said to you, okay, David, let's meet for breakfast tomorrow at 7 a.m., you're going to say, oh yeah, of course, let's meet, because if you can get up and be there at 7, I can do the same.
Yeah.
Right. But you're dragging yourself in with a cup of coffee. I've already been up. I've been to the gym. I'm sitting there in my cufflinks and my suit. I know exactly what I want to achieve, and what I need to achieve out of this meeting. And it was just, I managed to do that consistently daily, and you'll find some very interesting people who are very successful, who wake up very early.
Oh man, this I mean, they call it the 5 a.m. club.
Exactly,
is that right?
The 5 a.m. club. Exactly.
Yeah, the amount of books that I've read. Actually, to be fair, I did read one, and there's one thing about me: I love reading. Right, it's my favorite pastime. But I remember reading this book called The Miracle Morning. Have you read it?
I haven't. No.
Okay, it's not very philosophical, but it's quite cheesy American kind of self-help book, right? But the key thing that he just keeps on banging on about is, you know, people, there's countless examples of, you know, the top entrepreneurs in the world that wake up at 5, and it's because it's the time when nobody can bother them, right?
That's it.
The whole world's sleeping at that time, and they get they sort themselves out to put themselves in the best position to attack the day.
Because you're waking up every day. We're changing, right? So between 30 and 40, you've changed. So you're actually changing every day. So every day you wake up, you actually sit with yourself and you understand, who am I today? So you're actually much more in touch with who you are. You're much more in touch with the day. Whereas when you're waking up and you're chasing your phone and you're chasing things, it becomes a real mess.
Oh, well, look, it almost becomes like Groundhog Day, right?
Exactly.
So I want to give you like a working example. You've got Mr. Jones, who has recently experienced an increase in his mortgage rates. He's, you know, the cost of living's gone so high. He's just about getting by, but yet we're telling him, you need to appreciate what you got. You know, he's struggling, and that you know, there's a lot of the country at the moment that might be in that position, right? At this moment in time, and they're struggling, but we're saying you need to appreciate what you got. How can Mr. Jones do that when seemingly there's so many things that are not working out for him?
But what is working out for him? Right, he's got a home, as you said. He's got, yes, the cost of living has gone up, but he's got heating in his house, hopefully. And I know there are people who don't, but in your example, he has got some things going for. Hopefully, he's got his health going for him. Yeah, you know. So if you focus on what you have, you will learn to be more content. Right? If you focus on what you don't have, you're going to be unhappy. So all I'm saying is, I'm trying to explain to anybody who's willing to listen that just try and look for the things that you have, because then you will be more grateful. And if you're more grateful, you'll be able to think clearer and you'll be able to make better quality decisions. Whereas if you're worried and you don't know, you're not thinking clearly, you make mistakes. You make bigger mistakes. You take out bigger mortgages, or you spend money where it shouldn't be spent, or you turn to drugs or alcohol or whatever it might be. So it's about focusing on what you have and coming from a place of contentment.
So by focusing on what you have, you get more of that in a way, or because conversely, if you focus on what you don't have, then you're going to get more of what you don't have. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, basically. But
what is the idea there? But how does that even work? Is it the whole law of attraction kind of thing, or?
No, I think that if you have a needy person, if you're a needy person, and you go around people and they feel that you're needy, they don't want to talk to you. Take someone who is begging on the street, right? A beggar comes up to you on the street. You don't sit and talk to him and give him really too much of your day. I mean, maybe you do. I'm sure there are people who do, but majority of people walk past. Maybe they'll throw a pound, make themselves feel better, you know. Yeah. But did they sit and find out, does that person actually, what do they need? Right? Because needy people don't want them around.
No.
So if you feel like you're empty, you're going to be needy. And people aren't going to give you anything. Whereas if you feel full and understand all the things I do have, people will want you around. People will want to be in your company. And that's how you're going to grow.
Got it.
Right? So people want to be around successful people. Why? Because they don't need anything from you. You understand? So it's all a mindset.
But how do you make yourself feel successful even when everything around you doesn't seem like it's successful?
Because you stop thinking about yourself, you think about other people. Just stop, drop thinking about yourself. Try your best. You know, I think that was a famous philosopher said that, actually. You know, it's difficult to find happiness within oneself, but it's impossible to find it anywhere else. Right? You clean, stop drinking, thinking about yourself.
And stop drinking.
And stop drinking.
Yeah.
That's not good. And start thinking about other people.
Yeah.
You know, and hopefully it works where your mind becomes clearer, you know, and you start helping. And that's how society grows, right? That's how we all help each other, and that's how we're going to grow and flourish. If everyone becomes there's a conversation between the river and the pond, okay? The pond says to the river, why are you giving all your water to the ocean? It doesn't appreciate it. It's not going to grow. It still stays as salty as it was. And they said, why don't you keep all your things for yourself?
Yeah.
And the river's like, no, I'm going to give without expecting anything in return.
Yeah.
Right. And what happened? The pond turns putrid and disgusting, and nobody even wants to look at it. Whereas a river is fresh.
Yeah.
And it continues to stay fresh, right? Because it's replenished by that invisible hand. So I'm just saying, try and be more like the river, less like the pond.
Got it. So what was your first most extravagant purchase?
I bought myself an Aston Martin V8 Vantage when it first came out.
When was that?
In 2007, and it was a burnt orange.
Oh, lovely. Yeah. And you were how old?
24.
Oh, man. There's not many 24s rolling around in Aston Martins at that time, yeah? That's crazy. And then to date now, what's been the most extravagant purchase?
I bought a property in Lincoln's Inn Fields, actually, an old barrister's building, which I converted into a house. It was
Where's that?
7,000 square foot in Holborn.
Oh, wow.
7,000 square foot house, which I ended up living in, and I kept it as my home.
That's like basically a mansion.
Yeah, it was, yeah. And it had a glass garage. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
And then you don't live there anymore?
No, I sold it just before the interest rates went up.
August. Wow. So you got out at the right time?
I did, yeah.
Wow, amazing. Yeah. So today, after all your accomplishments, what would you say is more pressing for you? You know, teaching philosophy or pursuing your business aspirations?
Definitely teaching philosophy. I think contribution, and just if I knew this information sooner, it would have just helped me a lot. And I just feel like
in what way?
I just feel like, you know, you look at people and you're like, oh, that's an amazing car, and they have an amazing life, and they have all these amazing things, but they're not actually happy. And they don't tell you that. I think nowadays people are being a bit more open about it. I mean, but ultimately they're not actually celebrities. If you look at them today, they openly admit they're not happy, right? They're on antidepressants and they're on drugs. And so for me, I think this is a philosophy, this is a knowledge which, you know, people used to get values from the church, right? They used to go to Sunday school or the church. Now they don't have that. They're looking.
It's crazy, huh?
They're looking at companies. What's your mission statement? What's your value system? I just think it's important to teach these values, because it's just going to make people kinder, more compassionate, and happier. So I think that for me is more rewarding than making money.
So I've traveled a lot around the world, and, you know, GVE started off with me exporting cars to Thailand. And one thing that I noticed when actually the whole business was designed around the concept of keeping up with the Joneses, right? And Southeast Asia is all about that. You know, you've got, this guy in Thailand owns this one Merc, and then suddenly they introduce a facelift. And because all of his mates have got the facelift, he needs to get the new one.
Of course.
Right? And you wouldn't be seen dead with the old shape, right? And so it's crazy, because you think that they're more spiritually inclined in that part of the world. But man, you know, you go to Jakarta, for example, and you see that there's a shopping center with Louis Vuitton, Hermes, and Prada and whatnot. and you only drive 5 minutes down the road and you've got another shopping center with the same stores, and it is just all, you know, what would you call it, materialistic, kind of feeding into people's insatiable desire for all these things to keep them, you know, aligned with the rest of their friends and whatnot, right? But then how does somebody bring this level of desire down? What are the practical steps for bringing your desires down?
So in the ancient Indian philosophy, there are three ways, right? And if you are in the intellectual way, which is reading knowledge about the self, about your true nature, who you really are, right? So let's say self-development books, okay, intellectual. You have, which is jnana, yoga. You have bhakti yoga, which is, if you're emotional, understanding that there is something larger than you out there. It's reducing your sense of individuality by, you know, in church they used to sing hymns, right? It's about surrendering to something higher than you, and understanding there is a higher power out there. And third is karma yoga. So if you're action orientated, acting as going from selfish to unselfish to selfless. These are the three ways: karma, bhakti, and jnana.
So how does surrendering to something higher than you help you reduce your desires?
Because if I believe that I'm the doer, right, then that puts a lot of stress on me. I believe that I'm the doer. It's big for my ego, right? I'm doing all this. It's my company. It's my, you know, I'm doing everything. Whereas if you believe and you understand, well, I'm only able to do this because of a higher power, right? Even if you say my company, it's not me that's doing it. I'm surrendering to there's my staff, right? There's so many people that are part of this. So it's not just me. That is reducing my level of ego, which makes me more part of the whole rather than individual.
Is that almost to say, let's say you find yourself in a sticky situation, in a bad situation, that you think, okay, well, look, this was down to me, right? Is it almost like destiny?
No, I think it's about it's devotion, right? It's being devoted to something higher. It's about saying, I have faith in something greater than me. It's humbling. It's being humble, right?
Okay.
It humbles you. If you believe like, oh, everything's me and I'm the most important person.
Oh, got it.
Right? You will find a very difficult truth to that. At some point you will fail, right? And then you hit rock bottom, and that's when you're saying, please God, help me. You know? But when you're at the top of your game, understanding I'm only here because of higher power, not just asking for God when you're, you know, prayer shouldn't be beggary, right? Which is what it is. Like, God, please give me this, give me that. It's like, actually, thank you for giving me everything. It's just thanking something for what you've received.
Got it. Okay, so you mentioned karma yoga, which is selfless action.
Yeah, going from selfish to unselfish to selfless. Yeah.
Okay, and so how does one do that?
So you have an ideal outside of your self-centered interest. Okay, whatever it might be. It could be, you know, the home should be the center of your affection, not the boundary, right? So I'm okay, my family's okay, community, country. Start expanding your circles of identification. You know, if you're a Christian, right, you see the cross, right? Christ on the cross. What's he doing? What's that symbol of? It's a symbol of
sacrifice.
Right. You see, he sacrificed himself for the benefit of others. So that symbol is sacrifice yourself for the benefit of others. That is karma yoga.
Wow. And then somebody doing that, how does that impact their life positively?
Well, anyone who we really remember in a positive way has sacrificed themselves for the benefit. Everything we have today is because people have sacrificed for the benefit of others. You know, look at South Africa and the apartheid, you know, and Mandela and or Gandhi, or these people have sacrificed themselves something greater.
Wow.
So you get peace of mind, as I said earlier. You get peace of mind because you're thinking of others. Like if you help your friend, it's easier. You're able to come up with a solution, and you're happier. You're happier and you have peace of mind. And these are the two things which I think, and you'll benefit. You're helping other people, and those people will help you. Not all of them. You're not doing it for anything, but you will be looked after.
There's a book which the title is so profound. It's Robin Sharma, Who Will Cry When You Die?
Oh, really?
And so it's basically the premise is, well, how many people are going to turn up to you at a funeral when you die, right? And, you know, you can make all the billions in the world, but actually if you didn't help out many people, you're not really going to have many people.
It's also, if you were, you know, what's your eulogy, right? Yeah. What would you like for people to read? What would you like people to say in your eulogy at your funeral? What do you want them to say about you? What type of person were you?
Yeah,
you know, he made loads of money, drove really nice cars, and didn't do anything for anyone.
Went to tramp on Saturdays.
And went to tramp on Saturday nights, and you know, or you know, he helped the community in this way, or he helped society in that way, or he gave and he forgave. And
well, you know, actually, there's an example of this which is very close to home. My granddad, who I was very close to, was the leader of the Indian Workers Association, and you know, there was just I used to walk with him down South or Broadway, and he would just get literally stopped every 5 seconds, right? Thank you so much. You helped my family set up here. You helped me. You know, my family wouldn't be in this amazing position of running 10 businesses if it wasn't for you, and this, that, and the other. And it, you know, he died a very happy man, but there was just, till this day, we keep on getting calls of people remembering him, you know, paying their respects. So
I'm still waiting to find somebody who is selfish and who is happy.
Really?
You know, I
meet countless numbers of multimillionaires every single day, right?
Of course, yeah. And they come and they're like, how do we make more money? How do we make, you know, what do we do? How do we get more?
Yeah.
So it's like...
That was going to be my next question, but anyway.
There you go. Exactly, yeah.
I'm joking.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a genuine question.
It's a genuine question.
How can I have more?
Yeah.
But actually, ultimately, what is your goal? Your goal is you make money so you can buy something to make you happy.
Right, exactly.
So it's like, well, I can be happy now.
Yeah.
So then why do I need so much money to do that?
Right. What I love is the way that during this podcast you've used storytelling to explain your points. And I think, you know, that's actually it's the old way of explaining stuff to people, right?
It's the way you're going to remember it.
It really is the way that you remember stuff. So I did really enjoy that. We're moving on to a quick fire round.
Please.
Don't think about the answer too much. Yeah. What's the one thing that you couldn't live without?
My family.
What is one bizarre talent that you have that other people don't know about?
My negotiation skills.
Really?
Yeah. I'm very
ruthless.
No, not. I wouldn't say ruthless. I'm just really, really good at negotiation.
Really?
I think again, it's the ability to get up, be able to walk away from the table. You know?
Have you ever read that book, Never Split the Difference?
I have, yes.
That's a
great book. But the person with the power is the one who can get up and walk away.
Yes. Yeah. And hope he still gets a call back. Yeah. Most valuable piece of advice that you've ever received?
That you are perfect as you are.
Favorite way to unwind after work? I
like to socialize with close friends. I don't like, not really groups so much. And I spend time with my wife.
What's the most challenging decision you've ever had to make in business?
Whether to, we had a litigant, so somebody who was trying to litigate against me, right? So they could blight the site to pick it up for cheap. And it was either pay them off, right, or fight them till the end, basically. And it would have been easy to pay them off. But again, I was like, it's just not right. And I'm going to just take the righteous ground. And I fought, and it was expensive and it was a long battle, but we won in the end. So
that's good. I've had the opposite experience. I took the righteous ground and I lost. So I should not have lost that court case, but we'll make a podcast about that at some point. What's the key to happiness?
Unselfishness.
If you could only give one bit of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
To serve and to sacrifice and not think about the fruits.
Okay, that has been a truly unique podcast. 22 podcasts in. That is very special and probably going to add a lot of value to people's lives. I hope it does, because I know I've taken a lot from this myself. So I do really appreciate you being on the podcast with us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you again for having me.
Thank you. So I really hope you enjoyed the podcast today. If you did, please like, subscribe, and share. Also, don't forget to hit the notification button so you know when we post next. Until next time, see you later.